All right, just for reference, it does look like everybody's going through the lobby. Um, should we admit them all?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it. Hi to those who have joined so far. We're going to wait just a couple of moments to let people join, but we'll be getting started shortly. Okay, just another minute and we'll get started as people join the call. Thank you, everybody. Okay, I think we're good to go. We'll get started and people can join as they do. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Megan O'Brien. I am the Program Technology and Innovation Technical Advisor at the IRC, and I'm based in Denver, Colorado. I'm also the host and moderator for the program today, and I'm really thrilled to welcome you all to today's webinar, which is Reshaping Humanitarian Aid, AI and Anti-Trafficking Practice. So today we're marking World Humanitarian Day. This is an important opportunity to honor the humanitarian workers who've lost their lives while helping others, and to recognize the extraordinary courage, compassion, and commitment of those who continue to serve people affected by crisis. Humanitarian action has always been about people. It's about standing alongside communities during their most difficult moments. It's about listening to their needs, earning their trust, and importantly, working with them to rebuild their lives. The need for that work has never been greater. Around the world, humanitarian needs continue to rise, and at the same time, humanitarian organizations are facing unprecedented pressure on funding. We're being asked to do more for more people with fewer resources. Artificial intelligence is just one of those tools that can help us meet that challenge. At the IRC, our vision is to amplify humanitarian response at a time when needs are rising and resources are shrinking. But technology alone is never the answer. How we design, develop, and deploy these tools really matters just as much. So we do abide by the IRC's do no harm principle when it comes to leveraging the power of AI to serve and empower our clients. This means building systems with strong safeguards and ensuring they're shaped by the lived experiences of the peoples and the communities that they're intended to support. Above all, AI should strengthen relationships and decision making, never replace them. So we are very fortunate today to have a great group of speakers joining us from both the IRC and HPE to explore what responsible AI can look like in action. The best way we can honor humanitarian workers is not only by recognizing their service, but by ensuring they have the support and the tools that they need to continue reaching people in crisis. So thank you all for your commitment to humanitarian action, and I wish you a thoughtful and productive program. And before we jump into that, we do have a few housekeeping notes for everybody. This The chat has, I noticed something changed on the screen, but I think that that's a good thing. So the session is going to be recorded. So a recording will be available after the webinar. The chat will be disabled during the webinar. However, we encourage you to submit questions through the chat function, where we'll aim to address as many questions as possible during the dedicated Q&A. We hope you'll stay with us through the full program. And with that, I'm going to introduce the partnership. So I'll take a few minutes to introduce the IRC, or the International Rescue. That's what the acronym stands for those who might not be familiar with our work. So it's the IRC, which stands for the International Rescue Committee. And I'm going to now ask our producers to please play an introduction video. And I'll mute myself during that. Just want to flag there's no sound on the video.
People survive when life-saving aid is delivered, when families fleeing war are welcomed. You may have seen our arrow. We have teams around the world who mobilize when bombs shake the ground, when children need a doctor, when families flee conflict to find a new home.
IRC is here. I am here today. Here we are at the
Right now I'm standing up
in Afghanistan.
Ukraine, Gaza, in Sudan, to distribute hygiene, deliver essential
With an immediate assistance.
Because we know right now, lives are on the line.
أنا بخاف من القصف بخاف من صوت الرصاص.
And families facing crisis must keep going to get water, to find a job, to keep their child safe.
Los sacrificios que uno hace como madre no importan cuando uno sabe que sus hijos van a estar bien.
And it's because of their resilience that we never stop. So we've shown up for more than 90 years, set in motion by a refugee named Albert Einstein and a group that risked everything to help people escape the Nazis.
The International Rescue Committee.
The International Rescue Committee.
The International Rescue Committee.
We are committed to finding a way through. When conflict or disaster take out roads, we press on.
IRC's team is working around the clock.
We see our medical team moving all over.
Carrying coolers packed with vaccines to children who don't have access.
One local organization says they're willing to go places that most others will not.
When children aren't getting the nutrition treatment they need, we adapt our methods, testing new ideas, proving what works.
Local people finding solutions for their communities.
So more children are screened, treated, and smiling like this. But the stakes are too high to stop there. So we never stop innovating.
What if that help preceded the disaster?
Like using AI to predict floods.
Water is coming. Take care.
So farmers can harvest their crop before the storm. We never stop educating, so children can learn that war isn't the final chapter. And we never stop changing futures. So now Ella can start a business, feed her family, look in the mirror and say,
أنا البوس والشامبيون والسوبر وومن.
it's up to us all to keep taking action.
So let's roll up our sleeves, raise our voices, match the courage of those we serve.
So children survive, so families recover, and communities rebuild. It's there, always showing up. A sign of hope in the shape of an arrow.
Okay, thank you so much for playing that video. I personally think that video is a really great introduction into why working with the IRC is really more than just a job, and I'm certainly grateful to be a part of this organization. So, as you all have just seen, the IRC works around the world to help people whose lives have been shattered by conflict and disaster to survive, recover, and rebuild their lives. Today, I'd also like to introduce what we're bringing that mission to our work on human trafficking, and that's through our partnership with HPE. The IRC's partnership with HPE launched in October 2025, with HPE supporting the development of our project, the Anti-Trafficking Response Platform. That platform includes two AI-supported tools that are designed as an integrated digital ecosystem, supporting prevention, identification, response, and long-term recovery through accessible survivor-centered tools. This platform is available on our website, which is antitrafficking.org. The platform features Giannis, and Giannis is a chatbot for first-line responders, such as healthcare workers and social service providers. Giannis has information about human trafficking, helps users signs and guides them on the steps to take when they encounter a potential trafficking situation. By raising awareness and digital literacy, it strengthens prevention and empowers communities to stop trafficking. The second tool is called Sarah, and Sarah is an agentic AI that focuses on addressing gaps in long-term recovery, particularly by supporting survivors to access support to reintegrate into the labor market, reducing the risk of re-trafficking, especially in the first 2 years where there is a critically high risk of re-trafficking. So the platform makes trusted information available in a way that is private, accessible, and importantly, non-judgmental. It's available in English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish, so people can get help in the language that's most comfortable for them. This work is responding to a very real and growing challenge. Traffickers are increasingly using online platforms, digital tools, and AI to recruit, control, and exploit people, often while remaining anonymous. So part of what we're trying to understand is how traffickers are using technology, but also how we can simultaneously use that same technology responsibly to prevent trafficking, identify it earlier, and better support survivors. The IRC brings more than 20 years of experience in anti-trafficking, working with survivors and frontline providers. This platform combines that expertise with HPE's technology capabilities. This is the partnership that sits behind the Anti-Trafficking Response Platform and sets the scene for what we'll be discussing today. I am very excited to stop talking and hand over the mic to Christy and Kirk. Before I do, I just want to talk a little bit about this next part of the webinar. And to do that, I want to share that AI, as we know, is already reshaping how organizations operate, and humanitarian organizations are a part of this. So today, we're going to explore together what responsible AI adoption looks like in practice for the IRC through the anti-trafficking platform, and how humanitarian organizations can find the right balance between the opportunities AI presents and the responsibilities that come along with using it. So to help us unpack this, I'm very pleased to be joined by two guests. We have Christy Gladfelter, the IRC's Vice President and Head of Learning and Impact, joining us from San Diego, and Kirk Bresniker, HPE's Vice President and HPE Labs Chief Architect, joining us from Milpitas. Thank you both so much for being here. It's really great to have you with us. Okay.
Thank you.
So Christy, yeah, thanks, Kirk. I'm going to start with you. We saw that wonderful video about the IRC earlier. Can you start the conversation by grounding us in the IRC's mission? And having spent nearly 3 decades with the IRC, I'm really curious to know how you've seen technology change and evolve humanitarian work, and why do you believe that technology presents a new opportunity?
Thanks, Megan. I'm really happy to be here with all of you today and to talk about our
partnership with HBE, and a little bit about the IRC. As you saw in the video, we have existed for nearly 100 years at the IRC, and today we work in more than 40 countries and 30 cities across the United States. I think what's unique about the IRC is that we're there at different points of a person's journey. So it really spans what we call the arc of crisis. We may meet people at first when they're in the middle of an emergency, when they need that immediate help to survive. And then we stay alongside them as they begin to create stability for themselves and for their families. In 2025 alone, we served over 20 million people through our services. And at the same time, 20 million people seems like a lot, but at the same time, the humanitarian need is enormous. There are more than 100 million people around the world that have been forcibly displaced, and the resources to respond to those needs are just not keeping up the pace. So we can't keep doing the same. We have to think differently about how we reach people and use the resources we have without losing the quality and the humanity of our work. And that's where we think technology, including AI, creates a real opportunity. And I want to take you back just for a little bit to share my own journey. As Megan said, I've been doing this work for almost 3 decades, and I'm going to date myself a little bit. But when I started the IRC, it was 1997. There was one computer. It sat in the director's office. We coordinated refugee arrivals by fax and by landline phones. And then when the second computer arrived, we were all very excited and signed up for stops to use it. Google Maps didn't exist, so we used the old trusted Thomas guides to be able to find our clients' houses. Our job developers read through classified ads in the newspaper to find job openings. And I actually remember making the case why everyone would need an email when it first came out, because at the time it just wasn't so obvious to leadership. So in the 1990s, the internet, email, computers, it all transformed not only how quickly we could do our work, but how we carried out the work ourselves. And we're now 25 plus years later, and I think we're at another one of those transformational moments with AI. Technology is different, but the opportunity is very similar. We really want to fundamentally rethink how we work and how we reach people. And for the IRC, the question is not whether AI will change humanitarian work, it already is. The question is, how are we going to use it responsibly and in ways that make a real difference for the people that we serve? So we have already AI projects and work across health, education, protection, cash assistance, and emergency response. And now the opportunity is to connect what we're learning and use AI to make services easier to access, more responsive, and help us have the ability to reach more people. So I think it's important to say we are not interested in technology just for technology's sake. Through Arabelle, which is our research and innovation team, we test these approaches and understand whether they're actually improving outcomes. And for me, one of the biggest opportunities is giving our staff more time to do the work that only humans can do. And AI can really reduce the administrative burden and repetitive work so that staff can spend more time on building relationships, solving problems, and providing the support that really requires judgment, human judgment, trust, and connections. So I think about the opportunity in 3 ways. First, how do we help people do their current jobs better and more easily? Second, really changing how we do the work by redesigning the processes to make them simpler, faster, and less costly. And third, creating new ways to support people, which will allow us to serve more people at a faster pace and a bigger scale. So throughout all of this, I think it's very important that we all remember people have to remain at the center. AI is a tool. It should strengthen the work of our staff and improve outcomes for the people we serve, but it should never become the point of the work that we do. And I'll pass it back to you, Megan.
Christy, thank you so much. Also, apologies, everybody. I think my internet was a bit choppy, but we should have sorted that out. But I think the history that you shared is really helpful because it puts kind of a framework into place for today's conversation, and it brings some perspective that's really important. I also really liked when you said that we aren't using technology for technology's sake. I thought that that is a really helpful framing as well. And we've seen technology transform humanitarian work before when we look back at the history like you did. But AI is giving us a new opportunity to think not just about doing the same things faster, but about doing things differently and reaching people in new ways. And as you also said, the key is making sure that people really remain at the center of this. But making that opportunity a reality takes more than just technology alone. It requires the right expertise, not just expertise, the right people and the right partnerships, and importantly, shared values about how that technology should be used in all of those spaces. And that brings us to the partnership that's at the heart of all of this work. So, Kirk, hi. The IRC is very proud to partner with HPE on this project. Can you tell us more about how this partnership came about? What drew you to the IRC? What makes this a truly successful partnership?
Absolutely. So I think my journey on this started, it was several years ago. I was in Washington, D.C., and I got a chance to catch up with Fred Tan, who leads our Global Living Progress organization. And we were having a conversation and about our philanthropic efforts, both as a company, but also as all of our individuals. One thing I can say about our team members is we show up. When it's time to fill a sandbag or a lunchbox or be in a classroom or coach a team, our team members support, and they get support from our company in order to do that. And if you ever get a chance to visit our corporate headquarters, right, go in the doors, turn to your left, and you'll see our purpose to advance the way that people live and work. And if you get to meet our CEO, Antonio Neri, I'm guessing in the first 5 minutes of your conversation, he'll say the same thing. So we want to understand how we come to our communities. And I said to Fred, I love it when we show up, but can you find an opportunity for us to bring our technology into the conversation? Because basic community support is something that anyone can do and everyone should do. When can we do something that's unique that really brings our talent and understanding into an opportunity? And then just a short while later, he said, "Hey, could you join a call? It's with the IRC, and they want to understand AI technologies." And I said, "This is amazing." Because certainly for me, the IRC is been part of our family's philanthropic portfolio for decades, and so it's something that I was already committed to supporting. And so when you can bring your technology and understanding into an opportunity like that, it makes all the engineers feel like we are living up to that purpose. So that was the first step. I think the next piece of it was really to understand and to listen. I one of the very first lessons I formalized, I learned when I started here back in 1989. So, Chrissy, I had some of the same technology basics that you did when I started at HP. It was interoffice mail was how we delivered documents to each other. But I was taught that quality is fitness for use as defined by the end customer. And the important thing about that formula is that for an engineer, it means we can do nothing unilaterally. Everything has to begin with a dialogue. It begins with listening. It begins with learning and understanding. It demands empathy, and then you can begin to bring the technology ideas into the conversation and understand both the potential but also the hazards. And I think that's at the heart of responsible design. And so when we had this opportunity to meet with the organization and to learn what their challenges were, what they wanted to do, what were their aspirations, and especially for us at HPE Labs, because we aren't just working on what's available right now. We have that view, and we're shaping that future of technology. And nothing helps us shape that future of technology more than having a really hard and really important human-centered problem to begin to work on. That's what really drives and motivates us. That helps us to understand. And I think, if we compare this to so many of the complex business problems that we're trying to solve, the enterprise problems, the science and engineering problems, this just has that next level of desire to perform, desire to understand how to bring technology into a really human-centric problem and find the way forward. Understanding that all these tools have potential dual use. So we want to go in with eyes wide open, with ears open to listen and learn, and then to partner. And I think that's really what we've been doing, seeing that side by side work, testing, understanding, retesting, adapting. I think that's what's been so exciting and draws so many of our researchers wholeheartedly into this project.
Kirk, thank you so much for that response. I think what you're describing really highlights that this partnership in particular is about more than bringing together just technology and humanitarian expertise. It's about shared values and a shared goal of making technology work for people. And I also really appreciated what you had to say about listening, learning, and empathy every step of the way, from the initial thought to implementation and human-centered design. And in humanitarian settings, that distinction is particularly important because it's not just about what technology can do, but about how it's designed and deployed and making sure that innovation isn't creating new risks for the people and communities that we're trying to support. So you mentioned responsible AI. I'm going to turn this next question towards that space. Humanitarian organizations need to ensure that innovation translates into real positive impact for communities affected by crisis. This question's for you both. I'm curious, how are your respective organizations ensuring AI is developed and deployed responsibly? So, Kirk, would you
Mhm.
like to answer this first?
Sure. Yeah, this is near and dear to my heart because, in addition to being the chief architect at Labs, starting in 2019, I became the co-chair, along with our chief human rights and chief privacy officers, of our responsible AI ethics program here at HPE. And it had at its origin the fact that I find myself privileged to work at a company where adherence to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is fundamental to our standards of business conduct. And back in 2019, our Global Ethics and Compliance Organization commissioned an external comprehensive audit of all of our operations, thinking about labor, thinking about supply chain, thinking about process and product and partnerships, and uh, and after they did the evaluation, they patted us on the back and they said, "Congratulations in vigilance against forced labor in your supply chain, in understanding conflicts, minerals in your supply chain. In those aspects, you're great. You're leading not only your industry, but you're a global lighthouse. However, the next three things that HPE has to worry about in terms of human rights is AI, AI, and AI. And it's those same three: product, process, and partnership, when people want to build AI outcomes on top of our goods and services. And so our Global Ethics and Compliance office, they said, well, you know what? We know how to spell AI, and that's about it. How do we take that next step? So they called us at Labs. They said, can you partner with us? We want to establish a responsible AI ethics program. I said, absolutely. So we began the conversation. And the first thing we decided is that we wanted principles. And I think this is something we'll reiterate for all organizations. We wanted principles that were authentic to us. Now, you can go out and you can search and you can find some great frameworks, some great jumping off points. But what we decided to do was start a conversation about what authentically represents HPE. Because we do feel that we are unique in where we operate in the world. So we started with that purpose, I said, on a blank sheet. Our purpose is to advance the way that people live and work. Everything should flow from that. And we came up with 5 principles. AI should be human focused. AI should be privacy preserving and secure. AI should be inclusive. AI should be robust. AI should be responsible. And we wrote those out. I was leading that team. I thought we were going to take about 5 or 6 weeks. It took us a year. We argued over every single word of those definitions. But in the end, we ended up with something that was really robust and authentically represented us. And those first three, that was the lens of the human rights compliance as a basis for business conduct. The last two were that engineering heritage coming together. And so for us, that was the first step: define the principles. Now, since 2019 to here we are in 2026, we have established working groups. So we learn how to live up to those principles. And so when something is coming in, where people are making a proposal, we want to use AI to do. And then they can come in and they can consult with working groups who understand our business, how we operate, and then understand the technology, and can guide people in understanding principles and then how to apply them responsibly. So that's been the process for us: define principles, establish working groups, get that executive support, and then execute on education, execute on enabling everyone to understand, because we want all of our team members to make these kinds of decisions by themselves, but with the aid of those principles that really reflect our purpose.
Thanks so much, Kirk. Christy, I'm going to turn to you now. What do you think? What does ethical or responsible AI mean at the IRC specifically?
Yeah, and I think what I'm going to say is very, very much aligned with what Kurt shared. But from our IRC's perspective, we have to start with the humanitarian mission and the people in the communities that we serve. And so we don't believe we can really develop responsible AI in isolations of the realities of that humanitarian work. So we need to understand how the tools will be used, who's going to be using them, what the risks are. And then that's particularly the case for people that are in vulnerable situations. IRC has always had a strong commitment to do no harm. And I think we have to carry that forward with our AI initiatives as well. It really, as I mentioned before, it should make our work safer and more equitable and more effective, but never at the expense of someone's dignity or privacy or safety. And ultimately, the people are accountable, right? AI can help our staff make decisions, but AI can't make those decisions for them. We do also build safeguards in from the beginning rather than trying to address problems as they could occur, later. And so that includes looking at things like bias, privacy, security, and then is there a potential that people will rely just too heavily on that AI tool? So, and we talk about AI responsibility, but we don't want it just to be some practice that sits on a book, on a bookshelf somewhere. We actually have a policy in practice. We have a review process for any new uses of AI. And then what we want to look at is how do those principles show up in the actual work? I think Sarah, that we're going to hear about more shortly, is a really good example. Because it's designed to support survivors, we thought very carefully about emotional safety. So the language is intentionally careful and not overwhelming. There's immediate quick exit, so people are always in control of whether and how they use the tool. And I think one of the strongest findings that we found in the pilot was that survivors felt respected by the experience of engaging with AI. Privacy is very important. We built that in from the beginning. People do not have to log in, and then their personal information is not stored by default. We also had to think about, in this particular case, what are the risks that are very specific to this population? So, for example, what would happen if an abuser gets access to someone's device? So those kind of safeguarding questions are part of the design, and then the security review from the start. And again, human accountability is the most important part of this. So Sarah went through our governance process. People were clearly told what the tool can do, what it can't do, and then ultimately the responsible stays with us at the IRC. The other thing I think is really important, we didn't just build it and then give it to the survivors and ask them what they thought. They were a key part of our shaping and testing of the tool. So we don't want to just look at, okay, how are people using the tool, but how do they feel about the tool? Are they respected by the tool? Do they feel like they have choices? And are they in control? And I think for me, that's what responsible AI looks like. It's technology expands what's possible, but it keeps people and their safety and their dignity at the center.
So what I'm hearing from you both is that responsible AI isn't something that happens at the end of the development process. It has to be built into the way that we actually approach technology from the very beginning. And as you were just talking about, Christy, throughout. Kirk, you mentioned starting from a place of purpose. And Christy, similarly, you mentioned founding principles. And all of this happens before we even bring AI into the conversation. We also, of course, need to continuously monitor, especially for risks, and ensure that we keep improving. So even after we're done, we're not really done. For humanitarian organizations, though, knowing that AI should be responsibly used is one thing. Knowing where to start and how to translate those principles and theories into organizational practice, though, is another. So for humanitarian leaders who might be asking how to move from practice into implementation, this next question is for you. So just to make sure you're paying attention. Christy, organizations might be interested in applying AI, but don't know where to begin, as I just said. So, based on the IRC's experience, what lessons would you share with these humanitarian leaders about adopting AI responsibly and successfully?
Thanks, Megan. I think there's 5 things. And the first, which we've mentioned before, is you start with the problem and not the technology. So you don't want to look, where can we use AI because AI is cool and new and exciting, but actually look at what's the problem we're trying to solve, and then can AI actually help it? So in the beginning, we want to think about, is this the right tool for accountability, fairness, transparency, and then of course bringing it back to the dignity of the people that we serve. Second, and Kirk talked about this quite a bit, test and learn and improve and involve those people that are closest to the work. We don't want to build something centrally and then hand it over to teams that doesn't work. We know that from past experience. So we need pilot, learn, and then adjust. And the teams, like the field teams, those that are working closest to our clients, need to be part of that process. And then the people who are ultimately using those, in this case, the survivors, trafficking survivors, need to have a voice in the design and the evaluation of the tools. Third, we use AI to strengthen human judgment, but not replace it. So in humanitarian work, especially human relationships, judgment, compassion, that's all centered to our work. So AI can support these things, but they can't replace it. People ultimately remain responsible for the decisions that they make, and especially when those decisions are affecting a client or a community. Fourth, and we're going through this right now at the IRC, this is super important, that you need to prepare the entire organization, not just the technology. So responsible AI can't just sit with IT or with a group of specialists. It has to be the program staff, the directors, those caseworkers, the frontline teams, the analysts, the leaders. Like all of them need to have an understanding of where AI can be useful and where the risks are and how to use it responsibly. It has to be an organizational capacity rather than just a capacity at one team. And then that leads me directly to the fifth piece, which is the partnership. And this is what makes, I think, these programs so special that we're talking about today. We need to know where you need partners and how to bring them in. So we can, as humanitarian organizations, we cannot develop every capacity ourselves. And I think one of the most important things that leaders can do is to be clear what your organization can do and what you uniquely bring and where you need that outside expertise. I think the partnership with HPE is a great example. I mean, they bring deep experience in, IRC brings a deep experience in anti-trafficking and understanding of what people really need, but HPE brings that technical experience. And they can help turn the knowledge into tools that are really practical and secure and can actually be scaled. So I think partnerships can take different forms. Sometimes what we need is an investment to help a promising idea go from pilot to actual reality. Sometimes it's infrastructure, maybe cloud services or computing capacity. And then sometimes it's the technical expertise, like issues of bias or privacy or security or scaling. But I think most important is that it needs to be a true collaboration. It's not a tech company that's handing a tool over to the humanitarian organization. We each bring different expertise, and we learn from one another, and we build something together. So in summary, short summary, my advice is start with the problem, involve the people that are closest to it, keep the humans accountable, build a capability across the organization, not just in one tech team, and then find the right partners to help you do what you can't do or shouldn't be doing alone.
I think those are really useful lessons. They are reminding us that responsible AI adoption is not about moving as quickly as possible. Instead, it's actually about building the foundations that allow organizations to innovate with confidence and with people at the center. And Christy, like you said, that means that we need to build capacity across the entire organization alongside the clients that we serve. And it means collaboration externally and internally. Um, so we've talked about where we are today a lot. And now I want to shift us into looking forward. So as technology continues to evolve and as humanitarian organizations explore what's possible, what are you most excited about for the future of AI and humanitarian action? And that question is to you both. What are you most excited for when it comes to heading into the future and continuing to innovate? But Kirk, would you like to start?
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that excites us the most, and this is in all of our jobs, I think we're trying to do the same thing that Christy described, is to build that organizational competence and confidence, and to know that you can have the backstop of our principles and our guidance to help you understand how to utilize these tools. But I think one of the things, I sometimes will meet an engineer and they really want to make what they really want to make is a difference. And that takes that aha moment. Well, how do you get to the aha moment? Having the ability for these tools to digest and understand and to iterate on a hypothesis is, I think, a really powerful step. But if you have that aha moment, then you still need to find that problem that needs to, that your idea can address, and then you have to get the financing. You have to get to someone who understands that your idea and this opportunity can meet, and you can describe what is necessary, what has to go in. And so often we'll get engineers who are tripped up because they don't understand the language of the customer. They don't understand the language of business. They can't write a financial proposal. Perhaps, English isn't their first language and that's who they have to appeal to. So lowering those barriers to getting a really good idea to meet the opportunities and the investment necessary. So that leveling, that ability for people to express their desire to contribute and then to get to those means to just smooth out every step of that process. So that one great idea that has been held back by language, by access, by understanding, by process and ritual, now made that much easier. And I think when we think about that, we also think about our ability now, especially as we go into these conversations, we learn both the hazards and the potential, and we engineer systems that mitigate the hazards and connect information, and especially a problem as complex and constantly evolving as the ones that we've been describing. Sometimes I take inspiration from immunology, understanding how you will have a global set of data that also has to meet practical behavior, public institutions, private institutions, multinationals, and also it has to come down to how individual people make informed decisions. To be able to bring that information in without having to have it be lost in a giant pool, to give up that sovereignty over information, to be able to trace the impact of individual actions all the way back to their outcomes. So I think of humanitarians having that access to information, being able to demonstrate with transparency their ability to make a difference without having to give up control, with still staying absolutely true to their missions. And I think that's really what I see the potential here. But what it does require is for you to continuously assert yourselves, continually assert your mission, your values, your data is yours, your understanding. All those things are what's necessary for you to be able to utilize these tools to the fullest extent possible. I've been in the room when we're explaining something to the engineers and when they are told of something that they just had never considered. It's just not part of their experience. And it's interesting. Their eyes get big, and you can almost hear the gears clicking. I hadn't considered that because I never thought that could happen. I didn't realize that could happen, and so I didn't design for that. And then they can work forward. So I think I'm so excited about such a broad community engaging with these technologies when the engineers are there, because that's what they really want to know is how can they help. And so bringing all these tools and breaking down those barriers of communication and access is what really excites me.
Kirk, thank you so much. I really enjoy hearing you talk about reducing barriers to good ideas and understanding or create understanding so people know what's possible because these ideas are out there. Christy, I'm going to hand it over to you in just a second, but I want to take an opportunity to remind everyone that you can ask additional questions using the Q&A functionality in the toolbar. So please do go ahead and do so throughout the conversation, and we will get to those questions at the end of the program. Christy, okay, over to you. For the IRC, What lies ahead in the future of AI in humanitarian action?
Yeah, I'm super excited about the possibilities of AI for our work at the IRC for a couple of reasons. One is probably a little bit more exciting, and the other is a little more mundane, but they're both super important. And the first one on the exciting side is I think we can reach more people. I think we can respond more effectively, and we can make our services easier to access while we keep the people at the center. So I think the exciting part of AI is how it's going to help us scale our services, how it will make us more responsive and tailored to what people really need. We're in a unique position here because we sit at the intersection of rapidly changing technology, and frontline humanitarian work, and we can learn from that, and we can see where it's the most effective. On the other side, that maybe not so exciting, but also very important, is our operations. For a huge nonprofit, we are also, we have a lot of operations that are time consuming, and we feel like AI can help us be a more efficient organization, help us work faster and give people time to do the important work that takes those relationship building and the human side of humanity. So we're looking at how AI can help staff find more information quickly, turn paper-based information into something that's digital and usable, even supporting real-time translation between our clients and staff as well. And they may not, like I said, it may not sound very exciting, but as some of the cases that you'll see, like the Sarah bot and other things, but it can have an enormous impact. And so if we can reduce administrative burden and make information easier to access, it'll give our teams more time and capacity to focus on the people that we serve and the programs that we deliver. So I think this technology is going to continue to evolve probably faster than any of us are imagining. Our principles should not. So again, do no harm at the center of our work. No matter how sophisticated these tools will become, and they will become more and more every day, we have to remain responsible in how they're used and continue to make sure they're safe and ethical and are being accountable and actually making things better for the people we serve. But I am extremely excited about the potential for AI for our humanitarian services. And as I said, and those two cases, more than anything, one, reaching more people more effectively, and second, reducing that administrative burden so that people have time to spend with their clients and have time to do the humanitarian work that makes it so special.
I might have a little bias, but I don't think it's boring that administrative tasks get a little bit easier. So I too am very excited for that, Christy. And I want to take this moment to thank you both, Christy and Kirk, for sharing your perspectives and for helping us explore what responsible AI can look like in humanitarian context. And I really appreciated what you said, Christy, about how this technology is going to evolve faster than we're ready for, but our principles won't. Like, our principles are set, and they are set in do no harm and in centering the people that we are meant to serve. So I just wanted to reiterate that there. Okay, so we've spent the first part of this conversation talking about the why. So why this opportunity matters, the importance of partnership, and the principles that we need to guide how we develop and use AI. So we're going to take those whys and turn that conversation into reality, and towards life itself. So in the second part of today's webinar, we are going to take a deeper look at the IRC HPE anti-trafficking platform. So to take us from the principles we've been discussing into the practical application, I am very pleased to hand over to our speakers from the IRC, Florencia Dominguez, our anti-trafficking technical advisor based in Miami, Gianluca Asili, who is our anti-trafficking digital innovation specialist, and Anthony Paco Bernaula, whose last name I'm sure I said incorrectly, and I apologize, Anthony, please do correct everybody, correct that for everybody. He is our expert who's based in Oregon. So team, it is now over to you.
Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. I'm Gianluca, and as a first thing, I would like to again introduce a little bit the project and the collaboration that we have done with HP. In fact, IRC and HP have been developing and implementing an innovative project since January 2025, focused on leveraging technology and AI to combat human trafficking. The project includes 3 areas. So the first one is the website that is called antitraffickingresponse.org, that has the objective of supporting and providing educational material such as toolkits, manual, videos, and webinars for both practitioners and first-line responders. Within the website, are living even the other 2 solutions that has been already mentioned before, that are Janice and Sarah. Both of the solutions are living within the AI section in our website, and in particular, Janice is a chatbot, is a RAG-based educational chatbot aimed at providing information primarily to the first-line responders, so like such taxi drivers or healthcare staff or hospitality personnel, with the idea of supporting them to all those people that in their daily life may encounter victims of trafficking and survivors of trafficking, and who may not have the right tools and the right knowledge, or not being trained on how to recognize signs and take action. The second tool that is probably would be the main focus of today's discussion is Sarah, that has been already a little bit explained, and Sarah is an AI power platform that provide guidance to survivors of trafficking who wish to reintegrate the labor market. So that's pretty much the objective. One topic that I would like to highlight again before proceeding is try to answer a little bit the question why AI has been already addressed before, but the idea is of course because AI right now is really the cutting edge technology. Everybody's talking about AI. It's really a powerful technology that allowed us during this period of designing the platform, designing the solution, to actually create real concrete support for the both of the target of the both solution. So before proceeding, I would like to again leave the floor to Florencia and Anthony, asking them why how Sarah has been designed, how Sarah, where does come Sarah from, and because I know there's a sort of backstory between Florencia and another colleague of us, so please.
Sure, thank you, Gianluca, and I'm glad to be here. I'm currently the technical advisor in anti-trafficking for the IRC, but I worked for many years as a caseworker managing different anti-trafficking programming. Not all anti-trafficking programs are designed or funded the same way, and not all survivors they have the same level of needs, right? With any other form of victimizations, people come with different sets of needs, and and they require different levels of support. But when we were talking about with our the person that is leading the project from IRC, our colleague Marina, that she's based in France, we were trying to discuss trying to find gaps in services, or what would we see, what we could see AI not only assisting providers but also survivors in their journey to self-sufficiency, right? So in any of the programs with any social services program, I would like to say, we are trying to provide not only safety, but also not only safety and stability, but also tools for self-sufficiency, right? Because humanitarian programs will not always be there, and that's the reality. As we were talking at the beginning, the need gets greater, and sometimes we don't. Most of the times, we don't have enough to provide all the solutions. So when we were thinking from that base and talking about experience, one of the things that we discussed in our experience as caseworkers was that while we were trying to provide holistic services and basic needs like housing, connection to legal services, mental health, uh, food, whatever is it that the person may need, one of the things that for sure everyone will need at some point once the basic needs are covered is how can we help again in that road to self-sufficiency. And this is not an easy task. We are talking about trauma. We are talking about reintegration, not only to the job market, but also maybe in another state or in another country or in another language. So this has been really, really challenging. And what we notice is like in some programming that they had the capacity of have employment services for survivors to have that additional help in guiding people to build a resume that was extremely helpful, or connecting with a job, or life skill, teaching life skills about interview process and stuff like that. But not all programming have that capacity, and we again, social service providers are not always there. So we were thinking, what can we do using AI to minimize those roadblocks in the journey to self-sufficiency? That's how Sarah came about. We started thinking about let's build a tool using AI because AI is there, but let's build a tool that provides the safeguards for victims of trauma and survivors of trauma that is safe enough to use to kind of remove those roadblocks and that they can use as a resource, not only today, but when they're ready, right? They might not be ready while in services with IRC or another service provider, but they might be ready to use it 3 years from now in any location. And that's how the idea came about to have all these, that I think, Gianluca, you're going to go over all these different exercises within the tool that we thought we could be really, really beneficial.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Florencia. And I don't know, Anthony, if you want to add something on that, if you have like any insights on that.
Yes, thank you, everybody, and um, I'm very thankful to being here. And Megan, you did pronounce my last name correctly. Yay! Um, I am a survivor consultant with the Framework Project through IRC, and when they introduced this tool to me, I was very amazed by the potential that this tool had. Florencia, Gianluca, and Marina were able to show me how the tool works and the importance of having this tool to support survivors. I think the core concept is very strong because employment is a very important part for survivors after they leave their uh, after that Florencia was mentioning, after basic needs are met and somebody is trying to rebuild their life, it is very important to look at employment. And sometimes you do notice that you may knock multiple doors to see if like somebody can help you rebuild those skills, or yeah, even learn how to be able to uh, uh, do the basic skill of like, where do I go from now? How do I rebuild my life? What skills do I need to acquire to be able to find a job? I feel like, it meets that gap of like building confidence in yourself, that you may have something before you can meet an actual person. And I think that that's where this tool it's impressive. It's because it follows you to like what you can do, like how are you able to recognize what career path you want to build yourself into, and then what skills you need to prepare yourself into to be able to follow that career path, and then building your resume, which is very essential. I've uh, dealt with a lot of organizations in the past where due to time, they don't necessarily are able to help you with that basic understanding of what needs to be included in a resume. And maybe you can just come to, a person and say like, Sarah, help me build a resume. It's here, but I just need that human perspective. I just need, somebody to tell me if this is correctly. Um, it also helps with uh, using technology in a way where it's helping us feel empowered, that we have that knowledge, that we have uh, the self-sufficiency part where we can say, this is something that we did with ourselves, and there was a very amazing tool that was able to support us in the development of this. So yeah, I think I'm very excited uh, to be able to see the demo and talk more about how this AI tool has supported me as a user.
Thank you so much, both of you. Really appreciate the comments and the insights. So I think it's time for the demo. So let me share my screen. Please tell me if you can see it. So as I was mentioning, both Sarah and Janice's solution are living in our website that is called antitraffickingresponse.org. You can find them under the AI solution section. So once you enter in the AI solution section, you can see like the two tools. Right now we're going to focus on Sarah, but you can even test and even try Janice whenever you want. I kindly ask if someone can actually send the link to Sarah and Janice on the Q&A section, please. So I will go and do a super quick deep dive about Sarah. So once you click here and enter Sarah, that is the main page. So as you can see, Sarah like presents itself as a sort of like a journey. It's a 5-step journey that can be addressed both like following the order that we like created, so from number 1 to number 5, or of course can be explored even independently. The idea is to support survivors and users to alongside the whole journey, so alongside the whole path in the reintegrating the labor market. So the first step is called Explore Career and refers to the skills assessment kind of skills assessment. I'm sorry, I'm just checking one thing. Okay, yeah, skills assessment. Skills assessment. As you can see, it's divided into different sections. On the last part is the actual chat where you can have the conversation with Sarah, so with the AI agent behind Sarah. You can both type or even use the voice input, and the idea is that while the conversation keep on going, on the right part the profile insights section will populate itself. Right now, for a matter of time, I cannot show you live how the conversation go, but you can test on your own. But I already created a pre-filled conversation that I've done before. So as you can see, Sarah at the beginning asks you some question, some disclaimer, some initial introductory question, and then like while the conversation goes, the question become more in a way detailed with objective of try to create a sort of profile of the users. And while the conversation goes, as I was saying, the right part will populate itself with all the interests and skills and like preferences detected by the conversation. But the real advantage, the real additional advantage on this particular step is it comes at the end when Sarah creates for you an individual action plan. Of course, this one is just fictional, but the idea is that through the conversation, Sarah will create a summary of the information that you shared during the conversation. It will allow the user to, in a way, have a sort of direction for the future step. So we'll propose to you like identify strengths, some potential career pathways. Of course, that's are all suggestions are all direction that nothing, of course, is mandatory, but it's just to provide an idea of a possible path. So like, for example, here I just said during the conversation that I want to open my own bar, for example. So that's what is Sarah suggesting, dividing even a short-term goal or long-term goal, so you can actually have like an idea on how to proceed from now on. And you can even like download on both Word or instead like as a PDF. If you download the PDF, you can see it will appear something like this. So you can save it. So the user, as we were mentioning before, there's no database attached to Sarah, so the user become the owner of the data. So the data is mine. I cannot be accessed by anyone else except me. That's what we meant with privacy by design without the login and database. So that's the first step. This first step is like individual skills assessment and the plan for the future. So once I got the plan, so I got an idea where to go, Sarah is proposing me even the possibility of some resources. So the second step is the resource library. As you can see, is like just a kind of Netflix or YouTube kind of vibe. So different like courses, pretty much 90% of them are free, or like at max are freemium, and they are divided and filtered by different sections. But the real magic of AI comes to play in this particular second button, where Sarah like create a best match based on what you shared on the first step. So based on the information that you shared during the individual plan part, Sarah will create you a best match with the resource available online. So if I don't know where to start, I just click here and I will start from here, and then keep on like trying to follow what Sarah suggests. So first step, individual plan. Second step, okay, I increase my capabilities and skills. Third step, I want to create my resume. I don't know where to start. I don't have an idea. Sarah can support the user or even on that task. In particular, the resume builder. So the third step is again present itself like this. So it's divided in two sections. On the left part is like fields that can be fulfilled. Like for example, let me show it to you. While I type here on the left part, I will automatically fulfill here on the right. So I can see the template creating it on its own. So I have an idea how the resume will look like. But again, here the Sarah advantage, the Sarah support will comes to play in this particular section where I don't know, I can write something. I worked as a barista for 5 years. So really draft is a really high level insight on my past experience. And when I click the magic button, Sarah will propose me a different option to rephrase and to, in a way, increase and put more in a more kind of professional way. I can decide what select or not, and when I select the suggestion from Sarah, it will automatically populate the template itself. So you can do that on experience level, skills level, education, and summary as well. And again, as for the same principle that I mentioned before, the resume will be downloadable, so I will become the owner of the data and nobody else. So individual plan, resource, resume. Now I'm ready for like an interview because I feel confident I want to apply for a job. On the first step, you can actually try to practice for a job interview. Sarah will offer you the possibility to use both like a general practice or a specific role. So if I have a specific job position in mind I would like to apply for, I can paste here, for example, LinkedIn ads or the LinkedIn job position, and Sarah will impersonate the HR hiring manager of the company I would like to apply for, or otherwise I can practice with like a general job, general position, and As you can see, again, here is divided in different sections. The central one is always the chat, so you can type, or again, you can use the voice input, and Sarah will like speak as well. So it's like more kind of natural conversation. And the other part is the fact that during the conversation, Sarah will provide you live feedback on the specific answer. So regarding, I don't know, for example, the tone of voice or the level of detail of the answer. And at the end of the conversation, so when the session ends, Sarah will provide the user even a more structured feedback. The last step, so the last one, like if I hypothetically got a job offer, I can even download and upload the job offer here, and Sarah will check the job offer for me, try to identify a possible red flag on the contract, and try to identify even more area that maybe need a little bit more of investigation. Of course, one never say accept or do not accept a job. That's what Sarah will never do, but that's pretty much the idea. So to support the user and the survivor, even like in when the job offer is received, in order to prevent re-trafficking, as we were mentioning before. That's pretty much it of Sarah. There's the quick exit button, the share feedback button, and right now it's available both in English and Spanish, but we're willing to increase the number of languages as well. So sorry, probably I've been too long. Sorry for that. But I will ask right now again. I would like to leave the floor again to Florencia and Anthony about that in terms of like user experience and user perspective about the tool concretely.
I can start. I was getting even so excited, and I've seen these millions of times, but I'm so excited because even just you gotta imagine, right? And when you're working with people that experience trauma directly, and even if for oneself as a human, I mean, we were talking about admin, the fact that you can go to a resume builder, put 3 words, and it builds something, like it builds some content for you. The fact that you don't have to go back and think and be re-traumatized maybe by experiences so much. The fact that that tool was created with those safeguarding, right? Like it is exciting because it can, if it's daunting, resume building can be daunting for everyone, right? But imagine someone that is managing potential homelessness, mental health issues, maybe medical issues, food security issues, legal issues, whatever it might be, to have this tool that at least facilitates a little bit, right? Let's say we get a call, oh, you have an interview tomorrow, that you can go and practice really quick, or you can use it at your own, for your own level of need, and that's what I like it, that flexibility. Again, I was getting excited about it. Even the fact that it will give you recommendations of the classes that you can do or things that you can read based on your interest. I think that's great. And again, it's something that people, you can save those resources and kind of go at your own pace and when you're ready. What else? And I think the other thing that that we were testing that is really, really interesting is the job description review or the job offer review, that it can immediately kind of guide you, like point some red flags or guide you on what follow-up questions to ask. I think that is extremely important in seeing things that sometimes we don't think about. And again, I find the fact that you can practice with Sarah on the interview a little bit of, it takes a little bit of the nervousness, and it gives you really good pointers on your performance, to put it that way. Again, the idea was to remove blocks, and I think that definitely is doing that. Also, on the skills assessments, when you try it, Sarah will check in with you once in a while. Hey, are you okay to continue? Do you need a break? And again, it's a tool that we will continue to improve, but it's very, very what is called very intentional in the creation and on its use, and even the fact that it's so colorful, the fact that on the journey you don't necessarily have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go 3, you can go 2. Again, I like how personable and flexible the tool can be while having those safeguarding uh, systems in place.
Thank you. Anthony, do you want to add something?
Yes, for me, I think similarly to Floor, when the tool was introduced to me, I was very excited. And even as Gianluca, you revisit the tool one more time, it's just very exciting to see, the new add-ons into into the tool since I saw it just a couple weeks ago. So I am, it's very exciting. Anything from like the design of the tool, even when you can see Sarah saying like every time you switch through different pages, that it's just very friendly and it's very inviting. And I think it also um, it is a very needed employment navigation tool. We know that recovery is no linear, and at any point in time, you can go into the website and being able to work at whatever part in your life you feel like you are right now. And I've used it uh, to test my own skills and see like, what is I tell myself I work in the nonprofit sector for so many time for a long time, but do I want to switch into a different career path? And I've used it for that, and it has given me so much feedback into how I can translate my nonprofit skills into other careers, into other paths, and having that sheet at the end of the day and like looking at it and saying, okay, yes, I can translate that into multiple different pathways that I want to, and then I have different versions of resumes that I've gotten from Sarah, where I just feel like it makes me see where I want to go from here and how do I want to utilize what Sarah has given me to then find support from somebody else that can help me combine all of those ideas. But it just makes me feel that I have something that is like a base project where I can start and look at what I can do to integrate all of those parts together and put it in a resume. And this is where I think, sometimes we feel like this is the only way to go. But Sarah, it's not just a one tool all. We still need that connection with an economic empowerment specialist, a case manager that can help us review all of those different sheets, responses that we have gotten from Sarah, and then utilize those to see where do I move forward from here. And sometimes, like Florencia was mentioning, this is the part where case managers may not have time to build it from zero, but you are presenting yourself with something that then it can be utilized to enhance the way that you're looking for jobs. And just like, the interview part has also been very amazing, where if even if you like Gianluca was saying, you copy and paste a job post from LinkedIn, from Indeed, and then you're able to see that it's more tailored to what an employer may ask you. And sometimes, that's the scary part of like when you're gonna go to a job interview for the first time and you don't know what they're gonna ask you. It just gives you an idea and it makes you feel more confident. And like, it's that part of like being trauma informed and knowing that you're going to a place with confidence, that you're going to a place with like already thinking what are some of the questions that they're going to ask me and what are some of the answers that I may need to target, so that I can feel prepared, that I don't feel like maybe this is something that's going to make me scared. I think something that I would say that can still be enhanced within Sarah is thinking about those that's something that we can think forward into, like how can also Sarah let me know that maybe there's some employments that may contain risk, and how do I think about those when I'm preparing for a job interview or for presenting myself with an employer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The both of you really appreciate your insights as well. Yeah, what I wanted to highlight and like build on what you both said is, and even what has been said before, that Sarah is under a kind of continuous learning kind of approach. So it's not perfect yet, of course. It probably won't never be perfect. The idea is to continue really try to use the approach of tested learning. So seeing how like the users are perceiving the platform, receiving feedback, adjusting based on what the actual user are suggesting us to do. So it's a continuous learning, continuous improvement kind of approach. And the last thing that I wanted to point out is something that has been already addressed a little bit in the previous conversation, is related to the governance and data protection and the ethics behind all this idea and all this kind of technology and approach. I just wanted to highlight the fact that Sarah has been developed through the privacy by design kind of approach. So the fact there's no login or no database attached is because it's right now is the safest solution possible that we could think of. And even the fact that if at a certain point we wanted to we would like to introduce a login or a database, we would like to really find the safest solution as possible. So I don't know in particular for this like kind of data management and data ownership. I don't know if you, Anthony or Florencia, have any quick thought on that. Otherwise, I will leave to Megan the floor for the Q&A.
No, super quick, that everything is done in mining, like it was said before. It takes a long time to develop because there's a lot of thought behind it, right? And the fact, and we are getting feedback from the users on, I would like to save my information. I would like to be able to have a login, right? But we are going with the safeties. It's not technology first, like we was mentioned before, it's human first. And we continue to develop, and yeah, it's a working process, but it's exciting. And that's why we need the collaboration of all sorts of expertise.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that as we having this conversation yesterday, I think Sarah has been built with thinking of client safety, data minimization, and always thinking about the survivors' safety. And I think that that's something that makes me feel safe. We having conversations about kind of like what is, like Florencia was mentioning, what is needed to be able to store data or things like that, because that will be exciting, to not being able to do everything just at once, but being able to save your progress and see how things can being able to, like, as survivor, being able to return and keep the work that they're doing instead of like starting again. So I'm excited to see where that goes, and like kind of like how we can still utilize AI tools that can be safe for survivors.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. And so Megan, I'll leave the floor to you again for the final session. Thank you.
A massive thank you to our speakers, Gianluca, Florencia, and Anthony, and of course, everybody who helped bring this work to life. In particular, thank you so much for giving us a look into the human impact of what this tool can have. I think it's really exciting to see it all come to fruition, to see it all come to life, how it goes from listening to the needs of survivors of trafficking and using that to inform the innovation, how you thought about privacy by design and data protection and trauma-informed principles and safeguarding, and how you went beyond just a resume builder by working with experts to build additional functionalities to support users through the entire journey. Anthony, you mentioned in your piece that healing is not linear. And I think that by creating this supportive space across that whole journey, you're touching on that in a really meaningful way. And empowering users to feel confidence, like you said, in these unknown spaces that can be quite scary. And I think what you all have shared and this demo really brings us back to that central message of today's conversation, that responsible AI is ultimately about people. Technology has to work within the realities of humanitarian contexts and support, not just replace human expertise. It needs to uphold the safety, the dignity, and the trust of the people that we serve. Gianluca, you just said this. We're still learning, and there are certainly questions and challenges ahead. Florencia, you touched on this too. And that's part of why conversations like this are really, really important. So now we have just a few minutes, but we do want to hear from you all, our audience. So we're going to move into the Q&A quickly. If you still have a question that you haven't submitted, please do go ahead and do that through the chat function in Teams. There have been a couple that have come through. And so I'm going to jump into the first question. And that is a question that came in regarding inclusiveness as a principle of responsible AI. So how are we ensuring that AI systems are truly inclusive and representative of diverse identities, experiences, and viewpoints? I think we touched on this a little bit, but I'm excited to go a bit deeper with you all. So I'm going to hand this over to our panel. Kirk, maybe do you want to start and then we can go
Sure.
from that theory into practicality?
Yeah, so inclusive is one of our 5 AI ethics, responsible AI ethics principles. Our formulation is AI systems should be designed and used to be inclusive, minimize harmful bias, ensure fair and equitable treatment and access for individuals. So that's the formula. Again, we argued every single one of those words for about a year. And there's 3 I want to highlight. The first one is designed, and this is the product of engineering. And in order to design for this, you have to go back. It has to be part of the original constraints, goals, and conditions of the design team. But also, we need to even step one step back from that. It has to be part of the training of those teams before they begin the design. So for us, that is that really understanding how we drive these understandings to the training of the engineering teams, and it's incorporated in the goals of the program. The second word I want to highlight there is used, because this isn't just about the engineered system, it is about the processes and procedures that go around it. And especially as we're incorporating AI technologies in lieu of or augmenting or even replacing individuals, we want to understand, have we designed the use, the policies and procedures around the AI so that its use is also demonstrably inclusive. The last word I want to highlight there is ensure. And assurance means proof. And so for us, that is measurement, that is testing. The first time we were helping our human resources team evaluate some of their tools about creating a great career arc for one of our team members, we were actually testing. We were sending in information, and we were varying name and gender, implied gender and implied nationality, and all these variables in order to test. So we were testing. We really wanted proof. And the other thing I want to highlight there, and this is something that Christy touched on, this isn't just a day 0 problem. It's day 0. It's day 365. It is day 3,650. This is not something that you're done with when you push it out the first time. It's understanding how you set up the system so that you continuously assess, you will continuously continuously demonstrate and ensure that you're meeting this principle. One other thing I'll highlight, just last May at our internal technology conference, one of our teams was showing off a use of AI in order to help with this problem. And actually, they had developed a system. You would provide it your web interface, and it would be able to scan, and it had about 90 they were achieving 90% accuracy on determining when something was inaccessible according to the web content accessibility guidelines. 90% effective in determining it, 70% effective in remediating it within 5 minutes. And so I think this is one of the things we'll see is we can actually use these tools to begin to power up that more exhaustive testing towards inclusivity, towards accessibility, and lower barriers. But it is something that you have to be intentional about. It goes all the way back to the design teams and how the design teams are trained. And then you have to ensure both the design, the processes, and you are doing this over the long haul. This isn't done when you release the first drop on your website.
Thank you so much, Kirk. I don't know if anyone from the technical team that supported Sarah from IRC would like to jump in on that.
No, I think Kirk already said everything. So yeah, definitely align on that.
Okay, amazing. I do want to acknowledge that we are at time, so we'll have to cut our Q&A a bit short, but please do reach out to us for any follow-up questions that you might have. We're happy to discuss these things further. So I will be able to share our email addresses with you all, and you can reach out again with any additional questions, or if you're interested in utilizing Sarah, please reach out for that as well. So to close us out, I want to thank everyone who submitted questions and really thank our speakers for sharing your insights and engaging with the audience, not just now, but throughout the whole session. As we close, I do think there are a few key messages that are worth taking away from today's conversation. So what we've seen is that developing an AI-enabled tool for humanitarian settings isn't simply about building something that works. It starts with understanding a real problem, designing around the needs of the people who will actually use and be affected by the technology, and putting the right safeguards in place from the very beginning. We've heard about the tools and the importance of confidentiality, data protection, and human oversight. And throughout the conversation, we've come back to the principle that AI should support humanitarian workers and strengthen the services we provide while keeping people's dignity and safety at the very center of it all. A very big thank you to Kirk and Christy for joining our fireside conversation. And again to Florencia, Gianluca, and Anthony for taking us deeper into the project and sharing the experiences and lessons behind Sarah and Yanis. And of course, thank you to our partners at HPE for the collaboration and commitment that has really made this work possible. We're continuing to learn from this work, and we're interested in collaborating with other humanitarian organizations that are interested in piloting and adapting Sarah and Yanis to support their own programs and communities as well. If you'd like to learn more about the tools or explore a potential collaboration, please do get in touch with us. We'll also share the recording after today's webinar, so you'll be able to revisit the discussion and explore the work in more detail. And if you'd like to learn more about the IRC's work in anti-trafficking and our broader humanitarian work around the world, please visit the IRC website, which is rescue.org, and follow us on our different social media platforms. Finally, thank you to the audience, to everyone who took the time to join us today, and to all of you working every day to support people who are affected by crisis. On World Humanitarian Day, we want to recognize that work and the people behind it are essential in this space. Technology can be an important part of how we strengthen humanitarian action, but it's our responsibility to make sure that innovation always serves the people at the heart of that work. Thank you, everybody, and we hope to see you again soon.